As the world was gripped by a global pandemic, 2020 was the year that proved one universal truth, that Netflix is the online content king. What began as a small startup at the tail end of the dot-com era, Netflix has grown into one of the world's largest media empires, successfully crushing brick-and-mortar video rental and completely shifting the way creators produce and customers consume content. So sit back and chill as we explore the rise of Netflix. Let's rewind a few decades back to the 80s. Here, a young computer enthusiast named Reed Hastings was studying mathematics at Bowdoin College in Brunswick, Maine. After receiving his BA, Hastings took some time off to serve as a Peace Corps as a high school math teacher in rural northwest Swaziland, Africa, before attaining his master's degree in computer science and artificial intelligence. In 1991, Hastings found Pure Software, which produced tools for software developers. After an IPO in 1995 and several offers, Pure eventually sold to Rational Software for $700 million. Around the same decade, a young man named Mark Randolph spent his summers working for the National Outdoor Leadership. Mark loved his natural world, even earning a degree in geology from Hamilton College. Randolph's first job was at Cherry Lane Music Company in New York, where he oversaw the company's mail order operations, learning the ins and outs of direct mail and marketing techniques while developing a fascination with using computer software to track customer buying behavior. Marketing was in Mark's blood. His father was a nuclear engineer turned financial advisor. His mother ran her own real estate firm, and his great-uncle, Edward Bernays, a nephew of legendary psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud, is the man often called the father of public relations. Bernays is Randolph's middle name. To date, Randolph has founded over 6 successful startups, including Micro Warehouse, a computer mail order company that sold everything under the sun, over the internet, and delivered by mail. Randolph and Hastings' road to success eventually intersected when Hastings' company Pure Atria acquired one of Randolph's startups. In fact, it was literally on a commute between their homes in Santa Cruz and Pure Atria's headquarters in Sunnyvale that the two came up with the greatest business venture yet. There are several accounts as to how Netflix eventually came about. The most popular involving Hastings growing irate over a $40 late fee charged by Blockbuster for renting Apollo 13, though this tale has often been dismissed. In reality, Randolph admired the emerging e-commerce model of Amazon and wanted to use a similar model, selling a large category of portable items over the internet. Initially, Randolph and Hastings tossed the idea of VHS tapes around, but ultimately decided the product was too frail to make it through the mail service and survive. They eventually landed on a brand new technology, DVDs, which had only hit the market that year. To test the product, they mailed the DVD to Hastings' house in Santa Cruz. When the disc arrived in perfect condition, the two knew they were ready to take on a $16 billion video rental industry. Randolph took on the role of CEO, while Hastings supplied the seed capital of $2.5 million, as well as a relentless level of honesty that would shape the culture of the company moving forward. All they needed now was a name. They tossed ideas around like Take One, Now Showing, and NetPix. Eventually, they settled on Netflix, which later became Netflix. The company launched on August 29, 1997, as the world's first online DVD rental company. Initially, Netflix operated as a simple rent-by-mail DVD service, utilizing a pay-per-rental model. After about a year and a half, however, a simple business decision would change both their model and the entire world: a subscription-based service. Now consumers could rent unlimited movies with no late fees for just one low monthly payment. By 2000, Netflix dropped their pay-per-use model completely and offered subscription use exclusively. However, just as it seemed like things were taking off, the young startup ran into a few speed bumps. With 300,000 subscribers in 2000, Netflix founders recognized a problem. The cost to ship their products to consumers and still make good on their one-day delivery guarantee cost more than they would make, with estimated losses around $57 million. To avoid total collapse, Randolph and Hastings took their fresh business to, at the time, video rental giant Blockbuster with a reasonable price tag of $50 million. They proposed changing Netflix to Blockbuster.com, essentially handling all the online business while Blockbuster took care of the DVDs. For Blockbuster, the offer was completely laughable, and they turned them down. Today, of course, Netflix is worth over $200 billion as of 2021, and Blockbuster, well, let's just say that as of this video, they're huge in Bend, Oregon. The little startup that could worked through the postage situation, eventually doubling their subscribers over the next 2 years and making their first IPO in May of 2002. Since then, Netflix has consistently remained one of the best performing stocks in the S&P 500. Since its inception, Netflix has fostered a unique work environment for its employees, offering extremely broad discretion with respect to business decisions, hours, expenses, and vacation. This freedom has a cost, however, as Netflix, and in particular Hastings, expects consistently high performance, enforced by the keeper test, where supervisors constantly ask themselves if they would fight to keep an employee. If the answer is no, the employee is released. Netflix maintains a corporate culture of radical honesty, where employees evaluate one another and weigh in on strategic decisions. They also keep all salary information completely transparent. While this model has certainly drawn its share of controversy, Hastings has stated, "You gotta earn your job every year at Netflix. There's no question it's a tough place. There's no question it's not for everyone." One evening in 1998, Randolph received a major dose of that radical honesty following a botched pitch and a promotion deal with Sony. After the meeting, Hastings subjected Randolph to a PowerPoint presentation detailing the reasons why he was no longer fit to remain CEO. The talk ended with Randolph's demotion to president and Hastings taking over as CEO. Though certainly shrewd, even Randolph himself recognizes that Hastings' honesty results more from a sure sense of business need than from sheer malevolence. But by 2003, Randolph left Netflix altogether. Over the next few years, the company would continue to develop, accruing more and more subscribers. By 2007, the company would make yet another radical decision. For years, Netflix considered offering movies online, but low data speeds and bandwidth prohibited the decision. However, by the mid-2000s, technology had finally caught up with Netflix's ambition. The initial plan was Netflix Box, an external piece of hardware that would download movies overnight for viewing the next day. The product had even been prototyped when suddenly an internet company hit the world like an asteroid. That company, called YouTube, demonstrated that sheer potency of online video streaming. This would be a complete game changer for Netflix. The box was killed as streaming became the new king. Within 3 years, streaming would displace DVD rentals, prompting Hastings to declare, "By every measure, we are now primarily a streaming company that also offers DVD by mail." But just as it seemed that Netflix could do no wrong, the company would make one of the worst decisions in its history. As streaming took off, Hastings decided to split Netflix's two components into separate companies, with Netflix holding on to the DVD rentals and a new company, Quickster, taking over streaming. The two services would be offered and priced separately, meaning customers would now have to pay more if they wanted to keep DVD rentals and streaming capabilities. Within a few months, Netflix lost 600,000 subscribers and the company's stock lost half of its value. Business experts called it the new Coke of the millennium. Facing a shareholder and customer revolt, Hastings abruptly changed course, completely abandoning Quickster, although the DVD and streaming plans would remain separate. From that blunder, however, Hastings learned a valuable lesson, and since then, Netflix's price increases have happened much more slowly and stealthily. The next few years would see Netflix's continued growth, eventually expanding to over 190 countries and offering shows in over 20 languages. The company began delving into original programming, quickly becoming a media powerhouse. By 2013, Netflix had won over 31 primetime Emmy nominations for original shows like House of Cards, Orange is the New Black, and The Square. By 2018, they became the largest, most valuable media and entertainment company in the world, surpassing AT&T, Comcast, and Disney. According to the Global Internet Phenomena Report, Netflix consumed 15% of all internet bandwidth globally, the most by any single application, and still holds a similar record today. However, as Netflix curated its massive media library, it also accrued a mountain of debt. In less than a decade, the streaming giant borrowed over $16 billion to fuel consumers' insatiable appetite for content, a decision driven by Hastings' fear that Hollywood would soon jump on the streaming market bandwagon. To stockpile their media inventory, Netflix borrowed and borrowed and borrowed. Of course, today the bet seems to have paid off. As of January 2021, Netflix has reached a point where it is no longer borrowing. While the company still has a mountain of debt, they seem to be in an excellent position financially, not to mention a secure position as a global media leader. Today, Netflix is known as the company that had completely altered the way we produce, distribute, and consume content. They've changed the game to such an extent that even major media conglomerates like Disney, NBC, and Universal have adopted their strategy. The 2020-2021 pandemic even proved the potential longevity of streaming service, proving that even in the darkest days, people want to sit down, tune in, and binge watch their favorite content. Whatever the future holds, it seems like Netflix is here to stay.